First of all, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to thank you for your likes and your comments. I try to get back and answer some of the comments. If you have questions about anything, please do it that way. I appreciate it, I really do, to clarify some of the things that might be going on. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the likes and thank you for sharing the videos. So today we have Diana back in here, but we're not going to be doing any bar work today to develop our legs and feet because she had a little bit of an accident. And we'll get to that in a minute. Also, I wanted to tell you all and give you a little reminder and understanding of why it's so important for me to teach the strength of the feet and the legs and the hips and getting that positioning right. And that is because as you grow older, you're going to find that you're not as active and that you sit a lot more. In fact, with the lifestyles of today, there's probably a lot of you already sitting at a lot younger age than a lot of us did when we were younger. So the first thing to go as you age is the legs. What I noticed with myself is when I was carrying some bricks that I had when I moved to the backyard, that I could carry about 8 at a time, and I did real good when I was pulling them off of the stack at arm level. But I realized when I had to bend down to pick them up, my legs were a lot weaker, and I was finding that I had to use my back to lift more than my legs because they weren't functioning as well as they should. So with that in mind, I think you'll begin to appreciate the kind of things I'm showing you because it's strictly for strengthening the body on the plumb line with the alignment, and the alignment also being the subtle alignment, so that as you do grow older, you can also maintain a level of strength and agility and not be quite so immobile as you do this. So it's just a part of a healthier lifestyle as we grow old. So thank you for listening to that, and we will get on with Diana now and see what happened to her feet. How are you feeling? What happened with this whole thing?
Well, I rearranged my bedroom and I moved a chair and woke in the night and got up to go to the toilet and forgot that the chair was there, and I stubbed my outside of my foot pretty badly. Not as badly as I have previously, but I felt myself kind of jolt as I caught myself in that moment, and I knew that things were not going to be right after that. But what I did notice, as it was, I put some creams and things on it to help it heal, but I noticed that I was not able to walk like I had been, and I was very excited about doing this new posture that you had taught me where I was a little more forward, and I really can experience that in my balance as I move through the world. And it's a little, I'm still trying to get in the hang of it, but then this happened, so I haven't been doing any of that. But anyway, back to this, as I jolted myself, I felt that I threw myself out of alignment. I could just feel that. But then I don't feel like my gait on this foot has been aligned, and it's kind of just thrown me off all over, and I feel it in my shoulder and my neck and my hip over here, and so hopefully we can get that straightened out and get back to the bar work and balancing.
Okay. See, it feels like there's a little bit of swelling with it still. Not bad. There's a little bit of fluid in there. I've got Diana laying out on the table, and I'm looking at the alignment of the structure, and it still looks like it's pretty good. She's holding it pretty good. This leg is a little farther turned than this one, not much. This is the foot that she kicked. There is a little bit of swelling still. It's kind of warm right here in the upper part of the foot. And there's a tightness that's running up this thigh. Did you say that you kicked both feet, or?
Yeah, within about 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
The right foot was not as significant.
So what I'm doing here is I'm feeling that there's a little bit of fluid that's in the area, so there's some lymph nodes here. I am just pumping them to see if I can get some of that fluid out of the foot. It doesn't look swollen, but when you feel it, it does have some fluid in here around this ankle bone. It's quite a bit more full than the other ankle. So I'm just going to drain some of the fluid out, because I have learned over the years that when you can get the fluid out of the way, you have a lot more chances of making significant differences in when the bones are repositioning, because the fluid tends to hold things in place, or so it feels like it does. And I've noticed that with shoulder issues as well. A lot of times there's swelling around the shoulder. Drain that area, and the shoulder it corrects quicker. So that's just something that you can begin to process and think about how the body works. Now I'm getting down into this foot a little bit more. So the first thing I'm going to check, so I'm going to hold the heel in the palm of my hand and check that with the cuboid bone, which is that little cube bone that's along with the ankle, with the heel. And it's quite significant for the positioning of the heel strike. And right now it's not doing anything. So I'm going to hold it. Okay, now we're starting to get some movement out of that. The cuboid bone made a little jump.
Got a twitch in my knee then as well.
Did you? Okay. She felt it in her knee. So if you can think of the vector lines of, kicking your foot into the side, there's another one of the sphenoid. Did you catch that one? Another jump of the sphenoid bone. If you can think of the trajectory of the lines of, the impact and what it would do, it would definitely affect the knee and the other places that she's feeling it, which was with back and shoulder. Was that?
Mm-hmm. And neck.
And neck. Does it go opposite?
Yes.
So it's a contralateral kind of mess up, which is common, because you have to, once you get out of alignment, your body has to shift itself around in order to, get back on balance. And so other areas of the body are going to have to adjust for that. It's kind of like stacking a stack of bricks or blocks. If you stack them really good on top of each other, then you can build them pretty high. But if one of them gets off just a little, then farther up the line, you're going to have to take another one out to maintain that balance. That's very similar to what happens when we have trauma and accident and twisting and all that to the body. So it is an entire body thing. It's not just the foot that's the problem. It does extend up into the entire body. So now there was a couple of little shifts here with the cuboid bone. And I'm going to see how that fits in here. Although Diana did feel something coming up here already, so it may already have corrected itself. I'm just going to see how that feels. Yeah, so this is pretty well. There's a little bit more movement. Oh, that was just a movement here between the two fingers. And then her foot, you saw, maybe moved just a little bit. There was another shift going on. Okay, so up at the knee, it's starting to push me out and push me out here. So that made a bit of an alignment, or a shift, a change there. So I'm just going to check here. And see what that feels like. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take the toes and we're going to check each toe and the alignment of the toes. So I'm going to take this up and I'm going to be putting a little bit of traction on this toe, this little toe. I'm going to be putting a little bit of traction on it, holding it down at the other side of the joint. Let me know if it's a uncomfortable, hurt so bad feeling.
Yeah, it feels really good so far.
Okay, now I'm just putting a little traction here, and what I'm feeling is that the joints are decompressing, and there's a little twist happening with this whole thing. It feels like the little toe is, rotating. Oh, there was a jump there with the cuboid. And it does feel like, okay, the rotation is stopped and it's going back to the other side. So apparently when she kicked her toe, it caused a little twisting in some of the connective tissue. And I'm just holding again, and I'm not holding very tight. I'm really allowing anything going on inside of that misalignment to be able to move the way it needs to. And if you go too heavy with it, you're going to miss it. And you want to be real careful here that you don't get your head in the way. You want to just wait for the body to do its thing. And it's really getting quite active. There's a lot of correction happening with this little toe and the bones that are going all the way up to the ankle. So that was misaligned.
A lot of sensation up the side of the foot.
Okay, she's feeling a lot of sensation coming up the side of the foot. So she's able to tune in and feel the correction happening, which is good. And it's still, it's funny how this works, because the body, when you're really into the work and really into the tissues, and you're right there with this kind of telepathic sort of communication, it'll hold you in there until it's ready to let you go. It just holds you there, like you have a magnet on your fingers. And then when it's ready, when it's done, it just kind of lets go. It lets go of your hand, and it's getting ready to do that now, because I'm feeling that it's separating. And I don't understand that concept yet. I really haven't figured that out. Okay, so there's that one toe. And now we're going to take the second toe that was involved in this little trip in the middle of the night. Again, I'm taking the toe, grabbing a hold of it down at the base. The thumb comes along here, so I'm somewhat separating the upper joints of the toe with my thumb, but the main place the thumb is holding is at the very bottom joint. But after a while, your fingers can do a lot of different things. I have my other finger kind of on the upper joint, giving the little traction there with my thumb. That's along there. And then the main part of the decompression of these little joints is with the index finger and the thumb. But you do have a little bit other traction happening with the other fingers. So a lot of this work, when you start getting more subtle with it, is your fingers will learn how to stretch out and hold. And this toe is really moving in a lot of circles. And I'm just going to move up this toe.
Whoa. I felt that all the way up through here and down my other leg.
Okay, she felt that coming up through her hip and down the other leg, and that was a really massive amount of shifting that I felt. It's really not much, but it really demonstrates how connected we are. We're so connected. This body is so connected. That was under your foot. Did you feel that?
I'm still feeling my right leg.
Oh, okay. Well, she's feeling all this stuff, and I'm feeling it. More corrections happening at the bottom of her foot.
To the right foot.
I also feel that this is important because when you can go that deep and be that aware of your body the way Diana is feeling the sensation happening, we get to know ourselves a lot better. And that's really the only thing that we have to deal with, really, is taking care of ourselves and understanding who we are. And that's going to be another whole topic that I talk about at some point. But it's really important for right now to take care of yourself and appreciate your body and get to know it, because a lot of people don't even know their body. They're not even connected. And I understand why, because they're in so much stress. And so that is going to kind of move us out of the awareness of ourselves into looking for snakes bubbling up from the deep. So how's that feeling, Diana?
Really good. My right leg feels like it's turned more back into its normal turnout.
Okay, she just had a feeling of unwinding on the right leg. Now, if you think about how when she kicked, when you think about that leg was like in the air or swinging, that leg was the movement, the motion leg. The other one was stable, but as soon as she kicked that chair really hard, it's going to throw that standing leg out. So it makes perfect sense that what she was feeling was a misalignment that was happening up in the hip, creating a little bit of shifting down the leg from that kicking that chair. So it seems weird, and very few people out there who are working with bodies have that depth of understanding of the connection of the vector lines when we get injured, and how it involves so much of the subtle anatomy, actually more than the gross anatomy. And I'm on the other toe, the same thing. I moved into the third toe and giving that some traction. And that along the toe bone there a little more. And now this is interesting because the entire foot feels like it's rotating, and the toe is now following that. So each toe had a little bit different experience with that chair leg. They all felt hurt and they all were messed up a little bit, but they all messed up in their own way because of their positioning and because of the direction of the impact on each one of those little toes. So the body is correcting, and it is, to be honest with you, I think it's gives me so much pleasure to feel all of this correction happening in the body. It's just amazing. But the other thing you need to understand is there's a lot of times, and not so much lately, but where things would happen and people didn't feel it. They weren't as tuned into their body, so they didn't feel it. And they would come back and say, no, I don't feel any different. But it's like, I felt the subtle anatomy. I know how much it moved, and I know the correction. And I'm just moving to the next toe just to make sure that they're all okay.
Well, that is definitely a whole body experience. Whatever you're doing now.
Oh, you're feeling it all over?
Oh, yeah.
So this is the toe that didn't feel like it was affected from the kick, but it's feeling everything in her whole body. She's feeling it. So there you have it. It's just amazing. It's so much fun. I would love to see more people with this skill, because to me, there's a lot of things that are really nice. They make you feel good, but when you can actually feel structural changes, the alignment and the energy flow and everything in your body changes so much that it really does start with your physical, to put that into the alignment and allowing all those other bodies to function without these restrictions and twists. The mental body, the emotional body. The mental body and the emotional body kind of seem like it blends into the psychology of what happens with us. And those two bodies need to be very clear and developed well into thought instead of reaction. And you can see, even if your toe is twisted, you're going to have some other restrictions in the body. And I am on her big toe, How's that doing?
Feels like there's a lot of space developing between the bones in my foot and the first and second toe.
So it feels like it's widening?
Yeah.
So she says it feels a little bit like the first and second toe, it's widening. She's feeling more space in there. So if you think of the impact, what did that do to that foot? It smashed it all together. And there's still some twisting with this big toe because she didn't hit it straight forward, backward. There was some kind of other motion in there. Which is also another thing that you want to think about if you happen to get whiplash. You don't usually just go straight forward and straight backward with it. There's a lot of twisting and turning with whiplash. And it's my opinion that if the subtle anatomy, there was a jump in the big toe. If the subtle anatomy is dealt with first before you start putting bones into place, you'll have a lot quicker results because that will unwind things. The bones will just go back into their places, but they don't deal with the elasticity of the body and the movement of the connective tissue. They're just solid structure. And they do need that base of support, which is the subtle parts of the anatomy, in order to really hold that function of strength and structure. So how does this feel? It feels like your toe is like coming out of your foot.
It's really changing a lot.
There was another little jump. And now it's turning. I'm going to put my hand a little farther down and feel all the toe parts. There we go. That feels like it's starting to let me off. The thing too about this is when it starts to wind, if you're really going for time and you're running out of time, when you feel it begin to move, you can take it just a little ways and then you can let go because it will continue on its own. But if you can and you have the time for it, it's better to hold with it until it feels like it's kind of gone through its process. And now I'm just pulling on, I'm not really pulling, I'm just tractioning all of her toes and seeing how that is aligning, because they're all kind of finding their way to being straight there in the joint areas. It's hard to explain all this. Okay. So, checking the heel. The fluid is not, there's no fluid holding in the ankle. This is softened quite a bit. This is softened a lot. So there we have it. I was able to show you a little bit on a real injury. And this was good because you got some feedback from how she's feeling with it all. So enjoy what you're learning and just kind of process it and open up your mind to new ideas on how the body works. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.
So that was a very interesting experience. I've had work from Athena for years now, several years, and I always tune into my body when I'm on the table and I experience subtle sensations of maybe energy flowing, or sometimes an organ will burp, or there are always things in different areas of my body that I experience than what she's working on. This particular time, I thought that the fourth toe next to the small toe was misaligned, maybe. I had no idea how much was going on in my foot, and everything that she described as it was happening, I could feel how each of the three toes were misaligned in their own way rather than all being bent up or out together. And I had no idea that the big toe was even having a problem, and it seemed like that's where most of the action took place. But having my right leg, just experiencing sometimes some twitching, and it had started more folded out and aligned, and I felt just as though I was lying much straighter. In fact, I probably was lying much straighter and symmetrical when she finished the work. I'm always amazed. The work that Athena does is so subtle and so powerful, and just really almost has to be experienced to be appreciated.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And I think there's a little bell up there that you can hit that you'll get a notification every time we post. So if you want to, you can hit that too. But thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.